And it's a funny thing, I kind of realized how powerful Tupac and I was. You know what I'm saying? Because we two individual people, we waged a coastal beef. You know what I'm saying? One man against one man made a whole West Coast hate a whole East Coast and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? And that really bugged me out. Like, yo, Duke don't like me, so this whole coast don't like me. You know what I'm saying? I don't like him, so my whole coast don't like him. It just kind of let me know how much strength I had. So what I'm trying to do now, you know what I'm saying, with his untimely demise or whatever, I gotta be the one to flip it and take my power and flip it like, yo, they gotta be dead, you know what I'm saying? Because he can't do that. You know what I'm saying? He can't be the one to be like, yo, I wanna squash it because he's gone. So I gotta take the weight on both sides. That's why I'm out here.
In late February 1997, Christopher Wallace, the Brooklyn-born rap phenomenon known as the Notorious B.I.G., sat down for an interview with Rap City's Joe Clair on the set of his latest music video shoot in Los Angeles, a city still reeling from the unsolved murder of Tupac Shakur just 6 months earlier. Biggie was in town to promote his upcoming album, Life After Death, and to attend the Soul Train Music Awards. The larger-than-life rap superstar was in good spirits, reflecting on his rap journey from an angry street hustler to a bona fide superstar enjoying the riches of hitting it big after his debut album, Ready to Die, blew up and made him into a living legend in hip-hop. But his presence in California was a risky move, and Biggie was trying his best to squash the coastal beef that had spiraled into deadly violence and already claimed one of the most talented rappers in the history of the genre. Since Tupac's murder, rumors had swirled about retaliation, threats were whispered in the industry, and an undercurrent of tension made every public appearance feel like walking a tightrope. To understand how it came to this, you have to rewind 2 years earlier to a shooting that changed everything. In November 1994, Tupac Shakur was ambushed in the lobby of the Quad recording studios in Manhattan. He was shot 5 times but survived, crawling into an elevator to safety. Upstairs at the time of the shooting were Biggie and his crew. Tupac immediately sensed a setup and, feeling betrayed and characteristically hot-headed and impulsive, pointed the finger at his former friend. He believed Biggie knew about the ambush, or worse, had orchestrated it. Whether or not there was any truth to the accusation was largely beside the point. The damage was done. Tupac's paranoia, fueled by his time in prison and his growing resentment toward Bad Boy Records, spilled into his music. His 1996 track, Hit 'Em Up, was more than a typical diss track. It was a declaration of war.
Wax and kill, fuck with me and get your caps peeled. You know, see, grab your blocks when you see Tupac. Call the cops when you see Tupac. Who shot me, but your pumps didn't finish. Now you're about to feel the wrath of a menace.
With typical intensity and lyrical flourish, Pac accused Biggie of stealing his style, sleeping with his wife, and even being complicit in the shooting. It was one of the most vicious diss tracks in hip-hop history, and it sent shockwaves through the industry. The feud became more than just personal, it was regional. East Coast versus West Coast, Bad Boy versus Death Row, Puff Daddy versus Suge Knight. The media fanned the flames, and the artists, willingly or not, became symbols of a larger battle. When Tupac was shot and killed in Las Vegas in September of 1996, many in the hip-hop world braced for the next act of violence. Biggie, despite denying any involvement in Tupac's death, became an easy target for suspicion and revenge. Friends and family urged him to stay away from Los Angeles, but Biggie disregarded the pleas. He even joked about his mortality in interviews, brushing off the danger with his trademark bravado. But the streets weren't joking. The threats were real, and so was the tension every time he stepped out in public. And it was against this backdrop that Biggie climbed into an SUV after leaving an after-party hosted by Vibe magazine at the Peterson Automotive Museum in the early morning hours of March 9, 1997. Shortly after it pulled away, the SUV stopped at a red light on Fairfax Avenue. A black Chevy Impala pulled up beside Biggie's ride, and the driver fired 4 shots into the SUV. One of the bullets struck Biggie in the chest, piercing his heart. He was rushed to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, but was pronounced dead just 30 minutes later. Biggie was just 24 years old. And Biggie's murder just 6 months after Tupac wasn't just a tragic coincidence. It was the result of a feud that had spiraled out of control, fueled by pride, betrayal, and an industry that thrived on conflict. The deaths of Tupac and Biggie left a void in hip-hop, forcing the community to reckon with the cost of violence and the fragility of fame. Their legacies endure, but the questions surrounding their deaths and the roles played by figures like Suge Knight, Puff Daddy, and others in their inner circles continue to haunt the music world. I'm Derek Kaufman.
I'm Jason Beckerman.
And this is Last Days, Tupac and Biggie.
The murders of Tupac and Biggie sent shockwaves through not just the hip-hop community, but the entire world. Fans flooded the streets in Los Angeles and Brooklyn, mourning two of rap's most iconic figures whose lives had been cut tragically short. Vigils were held, murals were painted, and their music blared from car stereos as people tried to process the loss. Both artists had become larger-than-life figures, and their deaths felt like personal losses to millions. But beyond the grief, there was a palpable sense of anger and fear. Anger at the violence that had taken two young lives, and fear that this cycle of retaliation wasn't over. The media played a significant role in shaping the narrative around their deaths. News outlets seized on the East Coast versus West Coast rivalry, often sensationalizing the feud and framing it as a gang war rather than a complex mix of personal grievances and industry politics. Headlines focused on the violence, and reporters questioned whether hip-hop itself was to blame, painting the entire genre with a broad brush of criminality and chaos. This media treatment angered many within the hip-hop community, who felt that the artistry and messages in their music were being overshadowed by the drama and tragedy. Tupac and Biggie weren't just rappers. They were poets, storytellers, and voices for their communities, but much of that was lost in the sensationalism.
In the wake of their deaths, many musicians and industry figures began to speak out, calling for unity and peace within the hip-hop world. Snoop Dogg, who had been close to both Tupac and Biggie at different points in his career, was vocal about the need to end the violence that had plagued the scene. In a memorable moment at the 1997 MTV Video Music Awards, Snoop and Sean Puff Daddy Combs took the stage together, symbolizing a truce between the coasts. Diddy also released the tribute song I'll Be Missing You in honor of Biggie, which not only topped the charts but also served as a public call for healing.
The gates for me, reminisce sometime. The night they took my friend, try to black it out, but it plays again. When it's real, feeling's hard to conceal. Can't imagine all the pain I feel. Give anything to hear half your breath. I know you're still living your life after death.
Every move I make, every single day, every time I
And Jason, these gestures, they were important steps in sort of shifting the culture away from the conflict and towards reconciliation. I think they were very important. Look, for people my age, the death of Tupac and Biggie looms as large as for baby boomers with the death of John Lennon. It just does. It's a very big moment. There's Kurt Cobain's death. There's Biggie and Tupac.
Michael Jackson
Happened so much later
Yeah.
when he got weirder. This was people at the peak of their career, like Kurt Cobain and Biggie and Tupac. It was a very, very big moment, and it could have spiraled into lots and lots more violence. But the genre and the leaders of it, the Snoop Dogs and the Puffs, did make an effort towards reconciliation. We think of, obviously, Puff Daddy very differently now, given what's going on with the claims against him and the criminal case. But at the time, he was seen as a motivating force towards calming the waters.
I think, yes, although he was a huge part of the reason the waters got so churned up in the first place.
Without
right?
question.
I mean, he did come in after the deaths. He came in and tried to be a peacemaker, and that's fine. And he deserves credit for doing that.
And
but,
Suge didn't, who was seen as the other big sort of muscle behind Death Row.
Yeah,
Records.
talk about two people who have fallen out of favor.
My goodness.
It's hard to, and you can probably do a better job of it than I can. I was a little bit older, and I wasn't as into the hip hop scene as I think you were. It's hard to fathom at this point how big they were. Like Kendrick and Drake, we're hearing so much about them. They weren't nearly as big as Biggie and Tupac are. Obviously very different. Those are fighting with words, and these were with guns in the streets. But these artists had elevated to they were really the storytellers, as you said, the storytellers for an entire generation of urban youth in a way that I just don't think we have anymore.
Yeah, we don't really have the same monoculture anymore, where everyone was focused on those two guys, their rivalry, the media narrative surrounding them. Drake and Kendrick are very big, but we're in a different point in pop culture where you can ignore it.
Dissing each other. I don't want to diminish the music. The art is still great, but it's not as serious. It's not as, and I think it's a good thing. We're beyond that point of violent rap battles turning violent. We're
to the point of calling each other pedophiles,
right?
Things of that nature. That's where that beef went.
Right, exactly.
This was very different. And other artists like Nas and Jay-Z and Dr. Dre also began to pivot away from the combative energy that had defined much of the mid-90s rap scene. Jay-Z and Nas, who had their own infamous feud, eventually squashed their beef in the early 2000s, signaling a new era in hip-hop where lyrical battles didn't have to spill over into real-world violence. Organizations like the Hip Hop Summit Action Network were founded to promote social justice and community engagement, using the platform of rap to inspire positive change. The deaths of Tupac and Biggie became cautionary tales, and their legacies inspired a new generation of artists to prioritize life over beef. And while the hip-hop community worked to heal, the unsolved nature of both murders continued to cast a shadow over the industry. Conspiracy theories ran rampant, from allegations of law enforcement involvement to rumors of orchestrated hits by people within their own circles. And the lack of closure added to the frustration and mistrust, but it also fueled the determination within the community to protect and uplift one another.
In recent years, there have been significant developments in the long unsolved murders of Tupac Shakur. In September 2023, Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, a self-proclaimed witness to Tupac's 1996 shooting, was arrested and charged with murder. Keefe D. has long been on the investigators' radar, having publicly admitted in interviews and his memoir that he was in the car from which the fatal shots were fired, though he previously claimed immunity due to a proffer agreement during a separate investigation. His arrest marked a major breakthrough in a case that had frustrated law enforcement and captivated the public for nearly 3 decades. While Keefe D. is the only person charged so far, his trial is expected to shed more light on the circumstances surrounding Tupac's death and possibly implicate others involved in the conspiracy. Meanwhile, the Notorious B.I.G.'s murder remains officially unsolved, though theories abound regarding who was responsible. Many believe his death was linked to Tupac's murder, with some pointing fingers at figures within the Los Angeles Police Department and others at rival gang members or industry insiders. Despite numerous documentaries, books, and independent investigations, no arrests have been made in Biggie's case. However, the renewed focus on Tupac's murder, spurred by Keefe D's arrest, has reignited interest in Biggie's case as well, with some hoping that breakthroughs in one will eventually lead to justice in the other. For now, both murders remain painful reminders of a violent chapter in hip-hop history that continues to cast a shadow over the genre.
It's virtually impossible to be a hip-hop fan and not have had at least one conversation, but more likely multiple conversations, about who was the better or more influential rapper, Biggie or Tupac. Growing up in the 90s and 2000s, this was the central debate on everyone's mind, and battle lines were often drawn as people made their cases. If you were an East Coast fan, you might prefer the narrative flow and street life obsessions of Biggie, while many on the West Coast favored the fiery poetry and socially conscious lyrics of Tupac. But to me, choosing between these two is a bit of a fool's errand. The fact is, both men had distinct sounds and were important pioneers in developing and redefining the sound of rap in the 90s.
So we can talk about this. You're an East Coast guy. I was a West Coast guy.
Perfect.
When the two weren't mentioned in the same sentence, the Biggie and Tupac, it wasn't until they were killed 6 months apart.
That's right.
And until they were potentially linked to each other's murders.
They had their own separate fans.
That's right.
Yeah.
When that happened, and then they were completely equated with one another, as they always will be through history, it had never occurred to me that Biggie was in the same stratosphere as Tupac. Tupac was
a giant.
He was a giant. He was also transformative in the way he wasn't just producing entertainment. He was producing true art.
Movies.
Kendrick is beyond the movies, just in music itself. His lyrics were thought of as something that was a difference in kind from that which had come before. NWA was doing this a little bit, and then Tupac comes along and just does it at a different level altogether, a different sensibility altogether.
And he was a charisma machine. I mean, Tupac Shakur had a look. He had Thug Life tattooed across his belly. He was always shirtless. He had the bald head.
He was also dating celebrities. Yeah. He was creating celebrities, making movies to the point you made. Biggie was never didn't do a lot of that stuff, but I know you're a Biggie guy. Is that just an East Coast allegiance, or did that actually come from a real point of that was a debate that was well hashed out, and that's where people came down?
It's a great question. It's a bit of just an East Coast allegiance thing. You know, the birthplace of hip hop, no one disputes this, is New York.
Right.
And New York had fallen way behind.
You're from Florida.
I'm from Florida, but
so
we call that
the East Coast.
We call that the southern borough of New York, right? Just below Staten Island,
right.
South Florida. So the East Coast had fallen way behind. By the time I was a kid, West Coast rap was where it was at. You listened to Dr. Dre, you listened to
Snoop,
NWA, you listened to Snoop. They were undeniably bigger and more potent to the youth than East Coast rap at the time. And then Biggie arrived.
So Biggie
and he seemed to be
establishes New York as the focal point of rap. So that's why he's so big. That's interesting.
That's why he sort of like we grasped onto him, because he could be the leader of bringing back East Coast rap.
And then Jay-Z sort of follows on that.
Nas and Jay-Z are the guys who sort of carried rap. You always had Wu-Tang, but they were just Staten Island weird guys. But they were the only answer to how big West Coast rap was. But you're 100% right. Tupac and Dre, they were bigger than guys like Biggie. But there's a little bit of a regional bias when you lived on the East Coast.
Let's, for a minute here, talk about Tupac's musical legacy as one of the most influential and enduring in hip-hop history. His career began humbly as a backup dancer and occasional rapper with the alternative hip-hop group Digital Underground in the early 1990s. It was during this time that Tupac's talent began to shine, especially with his standout verse on the group's track, Same Song.
Tupac, go ahead and rock this. Now I clown around when I hang around with the underground. Girls used to frown, say I'm down when I come around. Gas me, and when they pass me, they used to diss me, harass me. But now they ask me if they can kiss me. Get some fame, people change, wanna live their life high. Same song can't go wrong if I play the nice guy. Claiming fame must have changed now that we became strong. I remain still the same.
It's a typical funk-infused jam from Digital Underground, featuring the laid-back vocals of Shock G, but Tupac is clearly something different, bringing a feisty urgency to the song that sounded like where the genre was headed rather than harkening back to the past.
Everyone knows Shock G. Shock G is the Humpty Dance.
Yep.
And so that style of rap that was just like, let's get the party started, we're not going to rap about serious things, was very sort of elemental to where rap was. And then Tupac bursts on, and you can feel that he's dragging the genre to the present. It's just
you see
different.
this in movies a lot, where you have big stars in movies, and you have somebody you've never really heard of before comes along and like, holy crap, they stole the show out from under this legendary actor. Like, this person's going to be a star. And that's what it was like.
100%.
This exposure led to Tupac's debut solo album, Tupacalypse Now, in 1991, which showcased his raw lyricism and unapologetic social commentary. The album tackled issues like police brutality, systematic racism, and poverty, themes that would become central to Tupac's work and cemented him as a voice for the voiceless in marginalized communities. These themes are particularly on display in Brenda's Got a Baby, about teenage pregnancy and the cycle of poverty in Black communities.
Brenda's got a baby, but Brenda's barely got a brain. A damn shame, the girl can hardly spell her name.
That's not our problem, that's up to Brenda's family.
Well, let me show you how it affects our whole community. Now, Brenda really never knew her moms, and her dad was a junkie putting death into his arms. It's sad, cause I bet Brenda doesn't even know. Just cause you're in the ghetto.
As his career progressed, Tupac's impact on both music and culture became undeniable. Albums like All Eyes on Me and Me Against the World solidified his reputation as both a fierce lyricist and a deeply introspective artist. His ability to switch between hard-hitting political commentary and personal vulnerability was unmatched. Tracks like Brenda's Got a Baby and Keep Your Head Up addressed societal issues with empathy, while songs like Dear Mama offered intimate glimpses into his personal life and struggles. His charisma and presence extended beyond music into acting, where he starred in critically acclaimed films like Poetic Justice, Above the Rim, and perhaps most memorably, Juice, proving his versatility as a performer and expanding his cultural reach.
I am crazy. But you know what else? I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck about you. I don't give a fuck about Steele. And I don't give a fuck about Raheem either. I don't give a fuck about myself. Look, I ain't shit. I ain't never gonna be shit. And you less of a man than me, so as soon as I decide that you ain't gonna be shit, pow, so be it.
Tupac's influence on rap was transformative. He blended the political consciousness of earlier hip-hop pioneers like Public Enemy with a raw, emotional honesty that resonated with a wide audience. His lyrical style was poetic, yet aggressive, capable of inspiring both revolution and reflection. He popularized the concept of the thug poet, presenting himself as both a hardened street soldier and a thoughtful philosopher. The duality allowed him to connect with fans from all walks of life and inspired countless artists who followed, from Eminem to Kendrick Lamar, who cited Tupac's ability to convey powerful messages through personal storytelling as a major influence. Tupac's words and ideas remain relevant today, as his music continues to be a rallying cry against injustice and a testament to the complexities of life in America's inner cities. His work not only shaped the sound and direction of hip-hop, but also demonstrates the genre's power as a platform for social change and personal expression.
This is one of the chief tragedies of his death. You know, he died at 25 years old, but the things he sung about were so resonant and so meaningful for society. Brenda's Got a Baby and Keep Your Head Up are anthemic, and they're about important issues of the inner city. What makes me most sad when I think about him dying so young is that most people think of the fiery end, when he was singing Hit 'Em Up, when he was singing California Love, and they weren't frivolous songs. They're important songs to rap, but they're not as meaningful. They're not like Public Enemy, and I feel like we've lost some of that Tupac.
What you wanted was for Tupac to grow old and have the wisdom that comes with age layered on top of this obvious brilliance and this real societal awareness, this observational tendency that he had to see things from his own unique perspective, and then to be able to convey those in really powerful lyrics. And it would have been nice to see him at 55 doing
Yeah.
the same thing, because he would have been as brilliant as ever with lyrics that really would have captured an ever-changing political landscape, and he's not here to do that.
Yeah, it's a real tragedy. So let's shift gears now and talk about Biggie. The Notorious B.I.G. was born Christopher Wallace. He left an indelible mark on hip-hop himself, defining the sound and style of East Coast rap in the 90s. His career took off when he connected with Sean Puff Daddy Combs, who had recently been fired from Uptown Records and was launching his own label, Bad Boy. Recognizing Biggie's raw talent and magnetic storytelling, Diddy signed Biggie in 1993, setting the stage for the release of Ready to Die in 1994. And if Tupac had paid his dues early on as a backup dancer and sometimes rapper for Digital Underground, Biggie came to the scene like a sudden tidal wave as a completely realized artist with a distinct voice. Ready to Die was a critical and commercial success, praised for its vivid narratives about street life, delivered with Biggie's smooth, laid-back flow. Tracks like Juicy, Big Papa, and Gimme the Loot showcased his ability to blend gritty realism with catchy hooks, bringing East Coast rap back into the spotlight after the dominance of West Coast artists like Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg.
Fuck all you hoes. Get a grip, motherfucker. Yeah. This album is dedicated to all the teachers that told me I never amount to nothing. To all the people that lived above the buildings that I was hustling from that called the police on me when I was just trying to make some money to feed my daughter. And all the niggas in the struggle. You know what I'm saying? It's all good, baby. It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine. Salt and pepper and heavy D.
Juicy's the closest thing to a rap standard at this point of any song I can think of. It's the ultimate rags to riches chronicle about his childhood living in poverty before fulfilling his dreams of becoming a successful rapper. And it's just a perfect song. Tupac has these as well, but when you listen to Juicy, it's sort of gritty.
The
It
hook of
doesn't
that
posture.
song is as well known as any in music history of any genre. And
Yeah.
sort of, he kind of wrote something that nobody had done before, or created something nobody had done before. It's
Yeah,
pretty impressive.
it's an impressive song. It's a very impressive song. It has sort of a sentimental quality, but it's still tough. It's just a very hard thing to pull off. And if you haven't heard Juicy, turn it on.
Everybody's heard.
Everyone has heard Juicy. Biggie's influence extended far beyond just his
We
lyrical
have these young
prowess.
people in the room right now who are like, I haven't heard.
Yeah, they're like, I gotta fire up Juicy. What the hell is that? So Biggie's influence, though, extended far beyond just lyrical prowess and rhyming abilities. He had this unparalleled knack for storytelling, painting cinematic portraits of his experiences growing up in Brooklyn's Bedford-Stuyvesant neighborhood. Songs were filled with detailed characters, dramatic twists, and a balance of humor and menace. And while many rappers touched on the struggles of street life, Biggie's ability to humanize his experiences and articulate the highs and lows with such authenticity really set him apart. I want to pause here for a moment. This is something that people talk about, the difference between Biggie and Tupac. Tupac went to an arts high school.
Yes.
His mother was a radical. She really invested a lot in him. He was a theater kid, and people don't want to remember this about him, but the fact that he went into movies and rap, movies were a big part of his career because he wanted to act, and Biggie didn't do so.
He was classically trained also.
Classically trained.
And he came from a lyricist background where he was taught how to write. He was
right.
taught how to do this. It was not,
His was true poetry in sort of the classical sense of how we think about poetry. And that's not what Biggie was doing. Biggie was truly a street hustler. He was a drug dealer who learned how to rap on the streets. There's famous videos of him sort of freestyling with people on the streets. There's not as many of those of Tupac because he came from a very different background. Some people point this out as who's more authentic. I think that's sort of a silly exercise.
It's also demeaning to
Yes.
anybody for their background. I mean, we all come from a place and you do the best you can with it. And both of them did pretty exceptional
Pretty
things
damn
with
well.
it. I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, his clever wordplay, impeccable flow, and ability to shift between hardcore tracks and radio-friendly hits made Biggie a very versatile artist, capable of appealing to both underground hip-hop heads and mainstream audiences.
I think it's this. He had this ability to write to blend sort of traditional rap with these jazz and soul samples, the hard-hitting beats. That was really what set him apart. I mean, he worked with DJ Premier, Easy Mo B. He just and created something that really hadn't been heard before. And I think it was, he created sort of what we now know as East Coast rap. And it was something very different. Biggie's success brought a resurgence of attention to New York's hip-hop scene, which was the birthplace of hip-hop but had lagged behind once gangster rap took hold in the early 90s with NWA and similar acts. Biggie, through the promotional genius of Diddy and Bad Boy Records, inspired a new generation of rappers like Jay-Z, Nas, and later 50 Cent, who all cited Biggie as a major influence. Biggie's second album, Life After Death, released just weeks after his death in 1997, further solidified his legacy with tracks like Hypnotize, proving that his lyrical mastery and influence would endure even after his untimely passing.
Come on. Ha, sicker than your average. Papa twist cabbage off instinct. Niggas don't think shit stink. Pink Gators, my Detroit players. Tim's for my hooligans in Brooklyn. Dead right, if the head right, Biggie there every night. Papa been smooth since days of under rules. Never lose, never choose to. Bruise, cruise, who? Do something to us. Talk goes through us. Girls want to us, wanna do us.
Biggie's larger-than-life persona, combined with his undeniable talent, truly made him a cultural icon. He not only elevated the status of East Coast rap, but also played a pivotal role in the commercialization of hip-hop, helping to bridge the gap between hardcore rap and mainstream appeal. His ability to craft timeless music ensured that his influence would continue long after his death, and he remains a cornerstone in discussions about the greatest rappers of all time.
The tragic murders of Tupac and Biggie robbed the world of two of the most gifted artists hip-hop had ever seen, cutting short lives and careers that were only just beginning to realize their full potential. Their early collaboration on Eddie F's 1994 track, Let's Get It On, is a powerful reminder of what could have been, a seamless blend of Tupac's fiery, socially conscious delivery and Biggie's smooth, narrative-driven flow. The track captured the raw energy and talent both artists brought to the genre, hinting at a future where their combined forces could have pushed rap into new, groundbreaking directions. Instead, petty beefs and an escalating East Coast-West Coast rivalry fueled by industry figures and media sensationalism turned potential unity into division, ultimately leading to their senseless deaths. And so I wanted to give the final word to two of the best rappers to ever pick up a mic, singing together on a song and introducing the world to what they were capable of delivering each and every time they went in the studio. Imagining a world where Tupac and Biggie continued to collaborate, not as rivals, but as peers, paints a picture of hip-hop's golden era evolving even further, shaped by two of its brightest stars working side by side to redefine the sound of a generation.
Forever thugging on a quest to get G's, running from enemies ever since the days of the sea. I'm under pressure, the stressor had me drinking, thinking niggas after me. Much too paranoid to blink, wonder why the police don't wanna see me stacking G's. They after a player, but I won't let them capture me. I gotta thank the Lord for the weed and the nicotine. I can't sleep, close my eyes and see wicked things.
Niggas know who's the mind blower, the weed grower. Have you seen doubles like Noah? The rhyme flower, B.I.G. Top knots with the Glock, check your pockets and your sockets. Just the way my pops taught me, when you throw the drop, check them thoroughly. The bastard might spin around and try to bury me, and dead niggas don't make no moves. When I'm slinging in the hood, I don't think.